These series of 3 videos are going to be pretty similar. I'm going to be playing along with the same background track, which is a bass player walking, common jazz time at 120 BPM. And I'm going to play through 3 different pages of material from Stone's Stick Control, Morello's Master Studies, and PETERS Dexterity. And similar material, but I'm going to be demonstrating ways that they can be applied to, creatively practicing, what is generally just standard jazz timekeeping. I think that's what this category falls under. It's the bassist, the bassist. It's the basis, I think, for extended improvisation and developing a language and a vocabulary for fills. So I hope you enjoy. Hey, to get going, I just want to run through a handful of general concepts that apply to these jazz studies, and some that are specifically Stone Stick Control related, but I think everything kind of informs everything for the sake of this video. So the first is how to correctly rhythmically transpose Stone's material into jazz time. So if you look at number 1, we see 4 groups of 4 notes. Now normally correspond with 4 counts in common time like this. So if I take that pattern, which is simply right, left, in my 4-note grouping, and I slow it down to 8th note triplet speed, I would have in one measure 4 beats times 3 notes in a triplet equals 12 notes. So as I look at this material, I always need to remember that things will flip around the notation relative to the beat that I'm playing. So here is number 1 played first as the notated quadruplets and then as triplets. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Now triplets. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'll demonstrate that with number 5, which is the sticking combination that we call paradiddle, to further demonstrate the idea. So here's quadruplets. And now it's triplets. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So understand that when you put things into triplet speed, that your right and left hand might alternate relative to the beat. Okay? A little bit faster, I'll demonstrate that fact. Here's number 5, quadruplets faster. And we can see that my right hand is always on the first beat. However, if I play it on triplets, that's going to change to my left hand. Cool. Okay, so I think we got that. The second thing is I want to talk about the foot ostinato. So the right foot will be doing all 4 counts, hi-hat on 2 and 4. Very simple foot ostinato. You can even do this with just your feet if you only have a practice pad. Not as fun, of course, but there you go. Transition. So as you go from one exercise to the next exercise, ideally you just jump. You just go to that next exercise. One that might be tricky, for example, would be 2 to 3. We have a left-hand lead going into doubles, but starting with the right hand. So that could present a scenario where you have to do, a quick triple stroke that you might not be accustomed to. And what I say is, if you can make the jump, that is to say, if you can just go from one exercise to the next without any disruption of time, great, do that. If not, maybe think ahead of time how you might be able to put in a double in a location that will basically flip your hands and get you ready for that upcoming exercise. And then a third option would be that you can always just play a drum fill. And my recommendation here would be to keep it simple. And in fact, later in the video, I do demonstrate that. Here's an example of that. I'll play 1 through 3, and I'll do the same drum fill every time. I like this drum fill as of late. It's from a Radiohead song called Exit Music for a Film. It goes something like this. Boom, 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 bop, boop, bop, da, boom. Okay, I'll play that drum fill every instance as I transition 1 through 3. Okay, so here's number 1. We have 2, 3. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I think we're probably hearing that. But that could be as easy as just a 4. 1, 2. Okay, so you can always just come up with a quick and easy drum fill and just do it the same way every time. Nothing wrong with that. The fourth option on transitioning from one exercise to the next is simply just stop. Just stop on a comfortable beat, start again. Okay, but keep it regular and know what you're going to do. That's the big thing there. I wanted to mention quickly that the paradiddle rotation sequence, which is exercises 5, 6, 7, and 8, great exercises. You're going to want to do this in as many contexts and as many speeds as possible. These are just super fun. And what you learn about taking a sticking pattern, such as an example would be paradiddle for number 5. And what the concept that I use is rotating it. So you take the same sticking pattern, but you simply start it in different locations of whatever subdivision you're working in. You could do this, you could apply this exact same idea with a great many of these exercises. For example, number 9. You could take that sticking combination of right, 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 left, and just simply rotate it through all the different parts of a triplet, for example. Or number 13 would be another example. You could take a combination of 4 notes on each hand and simply start it in each different location. Again, whatever subdivision you're working in, whatever instrument you're working in for that matter. A couple of other things I want to mention real quick. Consistent motion. A really pervasive idea with all of these exercises is that these are perpetual motion exercises. So whatever might be happening in your brain, your main processing center, is that you want to prioritize establishing and maintaining even flow on the drums. Don't get in the habit, which is really easy if you're not working directly with a teacher. Don't get in the habit of starting and stopping, or having a certain kind of trepidation or anxiety about simply playing. If you find that you do have difficulty just getting going, what I would recommend is doing long, like 1, 2, 3 minute long meditations on the exercises that you're most comfortable with. And so if that just means number 1, and you need to play number 1 with maybe just 4 notes on the bass drum, and you need to do that for like 2 minutes, super, do that. It'll be great. Or if you want to replace your right foot on the bass drum with a metronome and do that for a couple minutes, that's really good. It lays the deep foundation up here that you can then go about all the other variations and work. Countless hours of fun practicing is available, especially if you start it the right way. If you start off with a solid foundation and grounding. Drum fills, keep them simple. Always keep them super simple. You can insert drum fills. I think once you become really comfortable with the material, you can, first of all, introduce drum fills, maybe put it in a standard location, like at the end of a 4 or 8 bar phrase. But ultimately, you can move to a point to where you can, put in a drum fill and improvise essentially anywhere and for any duration. What you want to do is maybe just think of in terms of like a meter, like over here is practicing the material, and over here is just playing and having fun and playing extemporaneously, keeping time. So just be aware of where you are on that gauge and what the goal of your practice session might be. If your goal truly is to get the material deeply ingrained, then obviously you want to be having that, the majority of your practice time. Okay, phrasing and accents, some of these rudiments, like number 3, when it comes to a double, I prefer to play pretty neutral with no accents, because I know that a double stroke roll on the drums is a potentially really fast moving fill or technical idea. So I like to keep it neutral because I know where I'm ultimately going with my double stroke roll. So that's an example of that one. However, alternatively, something like 11, I generally accent and I phrase habitually because I think it's much more interesting that way. So a combination of left hand, 1 right hand and 3 lefts. I might choose to really accent that right hand and travel it around to other sound sources. And then last, for number 13, I remember clearly playing number 13 as a younger percussionist, as a younger drummer. And the quadruple stroke it was labored, it was difficult, it wasn't particularly fun, and I avoided 13. Numerologically speaking, it's interesting that the quadruple stroke first appears at number 13. Anyway, but just a general piece of advice to just always make sure that you are just as relaxed as possible. If you find that you don't feel relaxed with any one of these sticking combinations, it could be that you just need to spend a lot of time with those particular sticking pattern. However, you know that my first rule: go slower, go slow, go slow, go slow. You have the rest of your career and the rest of your music making, your musical life to play faster. You don't necessarily have, this is the moment that you have in your musical journey to get it right. So get it right. And for me, getting it right means playing really relaxed, okay? Among other things. So number 13 with those quadruple strokes. And as you're playing, you might want to try counting different ways. I could count this in 4/4 time. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. I could count each grouping. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. I could also count it in terms of the accents that I play. So I could count 3. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So a last little piece of advice that, again, always be developing your brain and your ability to process rhythms in multiple planes and dimensions and up and down and left and right. And so when it comes to counting, you might have to force yourself initially to count it different ways, but I think that there's a lot to be gained by doing that. Okay, so good luck. And here at approximately 120 beats per minute, I'm going to play 1 through 13 stick control on the snare drum, and then I'm going to play it with my hands simply split between the ride cymbal sound and the snare drum sound. So I'm going to play through this material twice, 4 times each for each exercise number. And I'll play 4 bars of time up top, okay? 1, 2, 3. ride cymbal and snare drum. Okay, great. So quick and easy demonstration. I hope that helped, and apologize for the little quick crazy drum fills, but I am trying to get this done before my kids wake up. And good luck with all that. Enjoy the rest of the video.